The funeral was already over when an elderly woman stopped Claire Morgan beside the cemetery gate. She was not carrying flowers. She was holding an old brown leather mailbag, its corners rubbed pale from years of use. "Your father asked me to keep this," she said. Claire looked toward the parking lot. Her mother, Margaret, waited inside the car with both hands on the steering wheel. "Keep what?" The woman lifted the bag. "This." Claire did not take it. Her father had missed nearly every important day of her life. Birthdays, school plays, graduation, her wedding, even the birth of her son. During the funeral, people had called him kind and dependable. Claire had listened without correcting them. They had buried a man she barely knew. "My name is Ruth Bennett," the woman said. "I lived next door to him for 23 years. He never mentioned you." Ruth gave a tired smile. "He mentioned you." The bag was heavier than it looked. "What's inside?" Claire asked. "Things he could never throw away." Ruth stepped back. "He told me to give it to you only after he was gone. While he was alive, he believed you would think he was making excuses. And now? Now he can't ask you to forgive him." Inside the car, Margaret noticed the bag immediately. "What did she give you?" "Something Dad left." For one brief second, the color left Margaret's face. "Throw it away!" Claire opened the passenger door but remained standing. "You don't even know what it is." "I know your father." So did everyone at the funeral, apparently. Margaret looked away. During the drive home, rain crossed the windshield in thin, uneven lines. Neither woman spoke. Claire had always defended her mother. Margaret had raised her alone, worked long hours, paid every bill, and stayed when her father disappeared. When Claire turned 12, she waited beside the front window until midnight, hoping he would come. Margaret had switched off the porch light. "He knows where we live," she had said. After that birthday, Claire stopped waiting. At home, Claire placed the mailbag on the dining table. "You don't have to open it," Margaret said. "That's the second time you've told me that. Because dead people get the last word too easily." Claire unbuckled the brass clasp. Inside were 20 envelopes tied with a faded blue ribbon, several photographs, a cassette tape, and a thin black notebook. Every envelope carried her name. Each had a different birthday written on the front: age 10, age 11, age 12, all the way to age 29. Claire opened the first. "My dear Claire, today you turn 10. I bought you a red bicycle, though I don't know whether red is still your favorite color. I drove past your street this afternoon. I did not stop. You may hate me for that one day. Part of me hopes you do. Anger is easier to carry than believing you were forgotten. You were never forgotten." Claire lowered the page. "He drove past the house?" Margaret's expression did not change. "I don't know." The next letter described Claire's school concert. She had played a tree because she was too frightened to audition for a speaking part. Only family members and teachers had known. Her father wrote that he had watched from the back of the auditorium. The third letter described her 12th birthday. "I came to the house that night. The porch light went out at 12:14. I sat in my car across the street for another hour." Claire looked at her mother. "Was he outside?" "I don't know." "You keep saying that." Because I am not responsible for everything he wrote. A photograph slipped from the next envelope. Claire was 16, leaving school with her first boyfriend. The picture had been taken from across the street. On the back, her father had written, "She looks happy. Do not interfere." "He watched me," Claire said. "He stayed away," Margaret replied. "That doesn't make it better." "No, but it makes it different." Another card fell onto the table. It carried the name of the educational foundation that had covered Claire's final year at university. Across the bottom, her father had written, "Payment received. Anonymous." Claire looked up. "Did he pay for university?" Margaret answered too quickly. "Not all of it." Claire froze. "You knew." "I knew he sent money." "How much?" "I don't remember." "You remember everything." Margaret's voice sharpened. "What are you asking, Claire? Whether the man who left us was secretly a hero?" "I'm asking why you told me he never tried." "Because trying is not the same as staying." The words hung between them. Claire looked back at the envelopes. Several carried faded postal marks. She lifted one and turned it over. The flap had been opened and sealed again with transparent tape. A red postal stamp crossed the front. "Returned to sender." She picked up another. "Returned," then another. Age 14, age 17, age 21, age 25. Some had been mailed more than once. Claire turned over the final envelope. Across it, written in blue ink by someone other than her father, were 4 words. "No longer at this address." But Claire had lived there until she was 18. She slowly raised her eyes. "Who sent them back?" Margaret gripped the back of a chair. Her lips parted, but no answer came. On the table, 20 years of birthdays waited in open envelopes. Claire finally understood that her father had not simply disappeared from her life. Someone had made sure she believed he had never tried to return. Margaret did not answer immediately. Rain pressed softly against the dining room windows. Claire still held the returned envelope. "Who sent them back?" Her mother lowered herself into a chair. "I did." Claire felt the room narrow. "All of them?" "No." "How many?" "I stopped counting." Claire placed both hands on the table. "You watched me wait for him. You told me he knew where we lived. Then you sent his letters back." Margaret looked at the envelopes. "Your father knew how to create hope. He was very good at that." Claire remained silent. "When we were married, he could make an ordinary day feel wonderful," Margaret said. "Then the promises started lasting longer than the good days." "He drank?" "Yes, he disappeared. Rent money vanished. He promised to come to your school and didn't. But he was trying to change." "He was always trying." Margaret's voice cracked. That was the problem. She explained that after the divorce, some letters arrived with gifts and promises. A bicycle, a red coat, a music box, visits that never happened. "Every time he called, you cleaned your room and waited by the window," she said. "Then he failed you again, and I had to put you back together. So you decided for me. You were 10. And when I was 16, Margaret looked down. By then I was afraid to admit what I had done. Claire's anger did not disappear. It changed shape. You were protecting me. Yes. And yourself. Margaret nodded. Yes. The next morning, Claire went to Ruth Bennett's house. Ruth led her into a modest kitchen and poured coffee into 2 mismatched cups. Why did he stop mailing the last letters? Claire asked. He thought you were returning them. My mother was. He didn't know that. Ruth explained that Claire's father had eventually become sober. He repaired school buses and attended recovery meetings every week, but shame remained. He drove to your university once, Ruth said. He saw you laughing with friends and left. Claire looked down. He also came to your wedding. He wasn't invited. He knew. He stood across the street for nearly an hour. Why didn't he speak to me? Because silence had become easier than risking another rejection. That was cowardice. Yes, Ruth said. He loved you. He was also afraid. Both things can be true. Then Ruth placed a small brass key in Claire's hand. He asked me to give you this after you read the letters. The key belonged to a bank safe deposit box. Inside was no money. There were childhood drawings, school photographs, report cards, recital programs, her wedding invitation, a newborn hospital bracelet, and a broken bell from the red bicycle he had once bought. There were also records from the Educational Foundation. Her father had not paid for all of university. He had sent what he could, small anonymous payments over 6 years. $50, $100, sometimes $25. At the bottom rested a memory card inside a plain envelope. For Claire, if she ever wants to know me. A bank employee brought a small computer. Her father appeared on the screen, older and thinner than Claire remembered. Claire, he began. If you are watching this, I finally ran out of time. His hands trembled, but his voice remained steady. Your mother did not invent my failures. I drank. I disappeared. I made promises I could not keep, then expected forgiveness because I felt sorry afterward. He paused. She tried to protect you from the man I had been. Sometimes she protected you from a man I was no longer. That was her mistake. He looked directly into the camera. My mistake was believing I had to become perfect before I came back. Claire's eyes filled. I kept waiting for the right year, the right job, the right words. People do not owe us erased memories, and I was afraid of yours. He lowered his voice. Your mother and I spent too many years deciding which one of us deserved more blame. And the only person we both lost was you. Claire covered her mouth. I am not asking you to defend me. I am not asking you to hate her. She stayed when I did not. He leaned closer. But do not let our fear become your inheritance. Claire thought of her 17-year-old son, Ethan, who would leave for university in a few months. Say things while people can still answer, her father continued. Apologize before you know whether you will be forgiven. Knock on the door before you believe you deserve to enter. Then he smiled faintly. I hope your son never has to learn what silence can destroy. The recording ended. Claire remained in the room until the screen went dark. Her father had loved her. He had also failed her. Her mother had protected her. She had also deceived her. None of those truths canceled the others. That evening, Claire went to Margaret's house. Her mother opened the door and asked only one question. "Do you hate me?" Claire looked at the hands that had packed lunches, paid bills, checked fevers, and returned letters. "I don't know what I feel yet," Margaret nodded. "That's fair. You should have told me." "Yes." "You should have let me decide." "Yes." "I can't forgive 20 years tonight." "I'm not asking you to." For the first time, they spoke without trying to win. Claire placed 5 letters on the kitchen table. "Read them with me." They read until after midnight. Nothing was repaired completely, but for the first time, they were standing inside the same truth. 3 months later, Ethan's suitcase lay open on the bed. He was leaving for university the next morning. Claire handed him a sealed envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "A letter. You're standing right here. That's why I'm giving it to you now. When should I open it?" "Whenever life gets too loud." The next evening, inside his dorm room, Ethan opened the envelope. The first line read, "If life ever becomes too loud, remember there will always be a place where you can come home." He folded the letter carefully and placed it inside his wallet. Back home, Claire sat beside Margaret on the porch. Neither woman mentioned forgiveness. They simply watched evening settle over the street where Claire had once waited beside a darkened window. Some letters never reach the mailbox. The most important ones should never have to wait.